Welcome to SnoozyTor, where every night carries a story of history, memory, and the quiet spaces between survival and surrender. Tonight, we journey to Guadalcanal, deep in the Pacific jungle of 1942. A place where rain never stops, maps lie, and silence itself can kill. Among the endless fog and fire, a small group of Marines holds a ridge the world will never remember. But the ridge remembers them. You'll walk beside them. Feel the humidity, the heartbeat under the mud, the ghosts that whisper through the static. Hear the laughter that fades too soon, and the fire that refuses to die. This isn't just a war story. It's about the sound of waiting, the weight of memory, and what it means to finally let go. So close your eyes, let the jungle breathe around you, and drift with us into The Ridge. A story of survival told in whispers, for those who dream of history before they sleep. The jungle doesn't breathe, it sweats. It presses against your skin like something alive, a slow pulse of damp heat that never fades, never rests. Every step feels like wading through the lungs of a dying animal. The air is heavy with the stench of mildew, smoke, and men who have stopped pretending to be clean. Somewhere behind me, someone is trying to dry his socks over a fire, but they only steam and curl, like they're trying to crawl away from their own fate. The smell joins everything else, the rot, the mud, the rust, and becomes the background scent of our days. I chew a stick of gum I've been reusing for 3 days. There's no flavor left, but it keeps my jaw busy, keeps my teeth from grinding down to dust. Across the clearing, a Marine pokes a coconut with his bayonet. He says he's making a bomb. I hope he's joking. I'm not sure he is. It's that kind of place, where sanity starts to sound like a rumor. They've got me on bunker detail today. That means carrying sandbags from one puddle to another, trying to reinforce walls that the rain keeps melting back into mud. I sling 2 over my shoulders, march through the slop, and drop them by a half-collapsed hut that's supposed to guard the river approach. By the time I've made 3 trips, my shirt is soaked and clings to my back like it's been painted on. My hands are slick, my rifle keeps slipping. The mud grabs at my boots, and for a second I imagine it trying to pull me under, to keep me here forever. Inside the bunker, 3 Marines are already asleep. One uses a rolled poncho for a pillow, another has his helmet tilted over his face like he's hiding from the world. They don't stir when I come in. I stack the bags quietly and leave. We've all learned that silence is a kind of kindness. Talking means remembering. Remembering means breaking. Back at camp, the latrine crew is digging a new trench. The last one flooded overnight and sent yesterday's waste floating toward the mess line. No one complained. They just started digging again. That's what we do here. We dig, we patch, we haul, and we hope the jungle doesn't notice us long enough to let us live another day. Someone at the fire swears he saw a rat the size of a cat swimming through the puddles this morning. Says it winked at him. Everyone laughs, but no one really doubts it. The island plays tricks like that. Sometimes it's the rats. Sometimes it's your own reflection in a puddle, just a blur of mud and exhaustion staring back. Chow comes late again. A tin of corned beef hash and a stale cracker. It somehow manages to be both salty and tasteless. Someone mutters that his mom fed the family dog better than this. Nobody argues. We just eat because it's what you do. The motion matters more than the taste. After breakfast I check my gear. I know every item by heart now. 3 ammo clips, a spare pair of socks that will never be dried, 2 chocolate bars. 1 real, 1 just the wrapper I keep because it reminds me of what sweetness used to taste like. A crumpled letter from my sister. My knife. A pencil nub. And the spoon. The one spoon that hasn't rusted or bent or vanished. I've promised myself I'll mail it home when this is over, like a souvenir from a place that shouldn't exist. Around midday the heat turns solid. The air buzzes with flies and the sound gets inside your skull. I watch a pair of them fight over a bit of meat stuck to a tin lid. They're the only things thriving here. Then one of the guys finds a few scraps of old rations and starts stacking them in the mud. Before long we're all helping. Tin cans, cigarette boxes, matchsticks. Together we build a miniature camp. Camp Freedom. It has a roof made of coconut shell, a toothbrush flagpole, even a tiny latrine. Stupid. It's perfect. And for 3 whole minutes we laugh. Real laughter. The kind that makes your chest hurt because it's been gone so long. When the laughter dies, the silence returns twice as heavy. It sits on us like the humidity. No one says it, but we all feel the same thing. The war has stopped being about battles or victory. It's about time. About enduring the hours between what was and what might be. The boredom cuts deeper than fear. That night, I write a letter I won't send. Still here, I start. Weather's wet. Thinking of home. I fold it, tuck it into my pack, and lie back under my poncho. The jungle hums outside like an engine that never shuts off. Somewhere out there, beyond the trees, there's a whole world with coffee and music and dry beds. But not here. Here, there's just the smell of steam and rot, and the quiet hope that tomorrow will still have a sunrise. The day drags like a bad dream you can't wake from. The air is thick enough to drink, and every breath feels like swallowing someone else's sweat. We move slow, not from laziness but because moving faster means thinking faster, and no one wants to think here. Thinking leads to remembering. Remembering leads to breaking. By noon, the rain stops just long enough for the sun to make everything worse. The heat bounces off the mud, and the camp turns into a stew of flies and steam. Someone mutters that the island's laughing at us, and for a moment, it feels true. The trees seem to whisper, low, endless, amused. That's when Ramirez gets the idea. He's been digging through the trash pit behind the mess line. Scraps of old ration tins, twisted cigarette boxes, broken forks. He says, let's build something. No one asks why. Maybe because why stopped being a useful word weeks ago. So we help him. 5 Marines knee-deep in mud, scrounging through garbage like kids in a sandbox. We find a cracked coconut shell and make it the roof. Tin cans become walls. A toothbrush jammed upright becomes a flagpole. Someone folds a cigarette paper into a triangle for the flag. It's ugly. Stupid. It's ours. Camp Freedom, Ramirez announces, puffing out his chest like he's just founded a new nation. We laugh, honest, belly-deep laughter that feels alien in our throats. For 3 whole minutes, we forget where we are. We forget the smell, the heat, the endless hum of mosquitoes. Then the wind shifts and the jungle reminds us. The laughter dies quick. The sound doesn't fade, it's swallowed like everything else here. Mitchell tosses a handful of mud at the little structure and says, "Guess it's weatherproof." No one replies. We just watch it sit there in the rain, perfectly ridiculous, perfectly human. After that, the mood changes. Not bad, just quieter. It's strange how quickly joy burns out here. It's like lighting a match underwater. The spark happens, you see it, you feel it, but it never lasts. I go back to hauling sandbags. The mud grabs at my boots, thick and jealous. Every step is a negotiation. Every breath, a bargain. Somewhere behind me, someone's humming. Off-key. It takes me a second to realize it's "You Are My Sunshine." The sound makes my throat ache. I used to hate that song. Now it feels like a prayer. At Chow, the corned beef hash tastes the same. Salt, metal, despair. A can of peaches gets passed around. 1 spoonful each. The syrup tastes like heaven and sadness mixed together. It's funny how luxury becomes microscopic out here. A sip of sweetness. A dry match. A half-clean sock. That's enough to remind you you're alive. Later, we gather under a tarp someone strung between 2 palm trees. The rain starts again, soft, steady, endless. It sounds like applause for something no one wants to win. Someone lights a cigarette and the smoke curls upward, lazy and perfect. We all watch it. You'd think it was fireworks. That's how desperate we are for movement. Then the talk starts. Not about the war, not about the enemy. Just fragments of home. One guy's sister had a baby. Another swears his old car could have made it across this island faster than we can walk it. Ramirez says he's gonna open a bar when this is over. Call it Camp Freedom. We all laugh again, but this time it's quiet, like we're afraid of scaring the idea away. Night comes fast here. One moment it's gray, the next it's black. The jungle doesn't ease into darkness, it slams into it. I lie in my foxhole, watching the fireflies flicker above the wire. They look like tracer rounds, but slower, gentler. Beside me, Mitchell mumbles in his sleep. Something about the ocean. His hands twitch like he's holding something invisible. Maybe he is. Maybe we all are. I take out the small ration tin I've been saving. Inside is a chocolate bar, half melted, wrapped in paper soft as tissue. I don't eat it. I just look at it. Sometimes, having something untouched feels like the only victory left. The rain grows heavier. The tarp leaks in the corners, dripping onto my sleeve. I don't move. There's a strange comfort in it. You stop fighting the island after a while. You just let it happen. Let the water find its way. Let the night take what it wants. Before I drift off, I think of the little model camp sitting by the fire pit. its coconut roof glistening under the rain. A ridiculous monument to men trying to remember what it felt like to make something instead of destroy it. It'll be gone by morning. Washed away, midnight again. The kind of dark that feels thick, alive, like it's pressing against your skin, listening. You can smell the earth sweating, the trees leaking sap, the faint sweetness of rot drifting through the air. Somewhere far off, something croaks. A frog maybe, or a man having a nightmare. Out here it's hard to tell the difference. It's my turn for watch duty. Midnight to 0400. The bad shift. The quiet one. The thinking shift. Everyone hates it. Not because anything usually happens, but because that's exactly when your mind starts whispering back at you. I settle behind a crate stacked with sandbags, rifle across my knees. My flashlight's covered with a strip of cloth, just enough to see my hands, not enough to give me away. The jungle in front of me is a wall of black. It's not an absence of light. It's a presence, something thick and unyielding, swallowing everything beyond 5 feet. The air hums. Not with insects, with tension. I try to keep still, breathing through my mouth so the sound doesn't echo. Somewhere behind me, someone snores, soft, rhythmic, almost human in its comfort. I give anything to trade places with him. Then I hear it, a shuffle, small, distant, but real. I freeze. My heart slams so loud I'm sure it's giving me away. I lift the rifle, slow, careful. The safety clicks off with a sound that feels like thunder. My eyes scan the darkness. Shadows within shadows, shapes that might be trees or might be something else. Nothing. Then, again. A soft scrape. Like a boot on wet leaves. I whisper the challenge phrase, the one drilled into us in boot camp. Identify yourself. Silence. The jungle doesn't answer. It never does. I say it again, louder this time. Still nothing. The hairs on my arms lift. The silence feels like a hand pressed against my mouth. I keep the rifle steady, finger tightening. Then a voice comes from the dark. Oh, rough. Friendly. I exhale so hard it's almost a laugh. My vision blurs for a second from the rush of relief. A shape moves into the faint edge of my light. A Marine from another squad. His helmet's crooked, his uniform soaked. He says he got turned around near the riverbank. I nod, wave him through. Neither of us says much. Out here, words feel too heavy to carry. After he disappears toward the next post, I'm left alone again with the dark. The adrenaline fades, replaced by something worse, awareness. Every sound becomes amplified. The dripping of rain off the tarp. The buzz of a mosquito near my ear. The slow beat of my pulse echoing in my skull. I start chewing gum just to make noise. My jaw aches, but it's something, anything, to fill the space between thoughts. The night stretches long and thin, a thread pulled too tight. At some point, the moon slips out from behind the clouds. For maybe 10 seconds, the world looks almost peaceful. Silver light spills over the leaves, turning the mud into glass. The river glints in the distance like it's made of steel. I can see the outlines of palm trees, the faint shimmer of dew on barbed wire. For a heartbeat, it's beautiful, unreal. Then the clouds swallow it again, and the darkness rushes back in, quick and absolute. That's when you realize the cruelest part of war isn't fear. It's the waiting. The stillness before something happens, or doesn't. The half-life between battles that the history books will never mention. You spend hours holding your breath, listening for footsteps that never come, until even silence starts to sound like danger. Halfway through the shift, I hear voices from another post, muffled, indistinct. A few laughs, quickly hushed. I imagine they're telling jokes, trying to trick their brains into forgetting where they are. I wish I could join in, but my job's to stare into nothing and make sure it stays that way. The wind picks up. The jungle rustles. I flinch. My nerves are live wires now. Any flicker, any whisper, and I'm ready to fire. I grip the rifle tighter until my knuckles ache. But the noise passes. Just the wind this time. Just the island breathing. By 0300, fatigue hits like a wave. My eyes blur, my mind drifts. I picture home. The smell of coffee. The sound of tires on wet pavement. My sister's laugh. I'd give anything for a sound like that again. Something innocent, something not afraid. A frog croaks nearby, sudden and loud. My heart jumps again. I almost laugh at myself. The jungle wins every time. It knows how to play you like an instrument. By the time the eastern sky starts to gray, I'm barely upright. My relief arrives. A Marine just as hollow-eyed as I am. Anything? He asks. Same old, I say. And it is. The jungle doesn't change. The fear doesn't fade. But somehow I'm still here. When I crawl back to my foxhole, the others are sleeping like stones. I slide down, close my eyes, and let the dampness seep through my clothes. My last thought before sleep takes me isn't about battle or glory. It's just a whisper, still here, still breathing. Out here, that's all survival really means. Morning comes in slow layers, mist, light, insects. The kind of dawn that doesn't feel like renewal, just another shade of gray replacing the black. The rain has stopped for once, leaving the camp heavy and steaming, a giant exhale from the earth. I wake up with my shirt glued to my back and my boots half buried in the mud I fell asleep on. Breakfast is a spoonful of cold hash and a cracker that tastes like metal. Nobody talks much. Then the sergeant calls for patrol. Grid point Charlie 6, he says, tapping a map spread across an ammo crate. Recon. Standard loop. We all nod, pretending we understand. But everyone knows those maps are lies. The jungle shifts overnight. Streams appear where none existed. Trees fall and carve new paths. Whole clearings vanish under vines. The paper in his hand was printed by someone who never set foot here. Out there, the grid doesn't exist. The only real direction is forward. 5 of us set out. Sergeant Hale up front, Ramirez with the radio, Mitchell and O'Brien in the middle, me on rear guard. The air feels thicker once we leave camp, like stepping underwater. The canopy swallows the light in minutes. What was morning becomes twilight. We walk single file, rifles up, 10 paces apart. Too close and one grenade could take us all. Too far and the jungle will eat whoever falls behind. Every few steps, I check my distance, making sure I can still see the back of O'Brien's helmet bobbing through the vines. It's a delicate rhythm: breathe, step, listen. Repeat. The mud sucks at our boots with every stride, and the ground smells like something that used to be alive. After a while, even the sound of your own heartbeat feels too loud. Then Hale stops, raises a fist. The line freezes. He listens. We all do. The jungle hums with insects, but beneath that, something else. A low crack. Maybe a branch. Maybe not. We crouch. I press my cheek against the damp stock of my rifle, eyes searching for movement. Nothing but leaves shifting in the wind. Advance slow, Hale whispers. His voice is calm. Always calm. We move again, slower this time, each footstep deliberate, each breath measured. I keep my finger resting on the trigger guard, not inside it. Not yet. The air smells different here. Not rot, not rain. Smoke. Faint, like someone cooking far away. Ramirez catches it too. He glances back at me, eyes asking a question I can't answer. Then the ground gives way. O'Brien sinks first, mud swallowing him up to the knees. He curses loud and I grab his pack before he goes deeper. A bog. Not on the map, of course. Nothing ever is. The muck tugs at us like it wants trophies, boots, rifles, bones. We haul each other forward, gasping and slipping until the ground finally firms beneath our feet again. Everyone's breathing hard. Mitchell mutters, "If I die here, tell my mother it was geography's fault." Nobody laughs. We press on. Minutes, maybe hours, pass. The trees close tighter. Vines hang like ropes. A bird screams somewhere above, sharp and human sounding. I feel sweat running down my spine, cold as oil. My hands are slick. I keep wiping them on my pants, but it doesn't help. Then the noise again. The snap. Closer this time. Not wind. Not an animal. Controlled. Intentional. Hale drops to one knee, scanning the trees. Ramirez kneels beside him, already clutching the radio. Possible contact. Hale whispers. East Ridge, 60 yards. He signals for silence. We crouch low, hearts ticking in sync. The jungle waits with us. For a few endless seconds, I think I see movement. A flicker of shadow behind a fern, the quick glint of something metallic. I bring the rifle up, breath locked in my throat. Nothing. The shape is gone. Orders. I whisper. Hale listens to the radio. Static. Then a voice. Observe. Do not engage. So we watch. And wait. The kind of waiting that grinds your nerves raw. Every sound feels personal. Each drop of water, each breath through your nostrils. Eventually, the jungle relaxes again. The noise fades. The ridge stays still. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was everything. We move forward, cautious, weapons raised. When we reach the spot, there's no one. Just a broken branch and a faint indentation in the mud. Maybe a boot print. Maybe not. Mark it, Hale says. Ramirez scratches a note on the map no one believes in. A lie recording another lie. The rest of the patrol is quiet. Too quiet. Even the birds seem to know we're intruding. When we finally turn back, my shoulders ache from tension, my throat from holding my breath. The walk home feels longer than the way out. The jungle doesn't repeat itself, it invents new traps. By the time we break through the last line of trees and see the camp's smoke rising ahead, I feel like we've crossed continents. At debrief, Hale reports, possible enemy scout. No engagement. No losses. The lieutenant nods, scribbles it down. Good work. That's it. 3 hours of crawling through hell reduced to one line on a clipboard. I strip off my gear, peel the socks from my feet, and lean back against a tree that smells like wet bark and mildew. The sun is back, heavy and cruel. My hands won't stop shaking. Not from fear, just leftover tension. Ramirez sits beside me, opens a tin of pineapple he's been saving. Without a word, he hands me 2 chunks. They taste like mercy. Somewhere behind us, the jungle rustles again. Not close. Just enough to remind us it's still there, still watching. And as I chew the last piece of fruit, I realize something. It's not the enemy I'm afraid of anymore. It's the map, because it keeps pretending to know where we are. When we get back to camp, the rain has already started again, thin, sharp, constant. The kind that doesn't fall so much as cling, wrapping itself around you like a damp shirt you can't peel off. Every sound is muffled under it. The whole world seems to be breathing quietly, waiting for something to happen. We drop our gear by the tent line and slump onto the ground. Nobody talks. Nobody needs to. The mud does all the talking for us, squelching under our boots, spattering our rifles, soaking our socks until every step feels like wading through warm glue. Ramirez mutters, "I'd kill for a dry place to sit." Mitchell laughs once, hollow and tired. "Find me one, I'll trade you my soul." "Already sold it," Ramirez says. The humor is faint, but it's something. Out here, jokes are a form of breathing, proof you still can. The lieutenant stops by long enough to ask, "Anything?" "Nothing solid," Hale answers. "Possible scout sign. East Ridge." The lieutenant nods like he already knew that. Noted. Then he's gone again. They always are. I wander toward the perimeter to clear my head. It's the same path I've walked 100 times, but somehow it looks different each day. Trees shifting, shadows rearranged. The jungle changes shape like it's trying to confuse you. Maybe it enjoys it. Maybe it's alive in a way we can't understand. The smell hits first. Wet dirt, old metal, faint gunpowder. Then I see it. A small clearing near the east edge, an old firing position half collapsed. Someone's been here recently. The ground's churned up, and in the middle of the mud sits a pile of spent shell casings arranged in the shape of a smiley face. 2 bullet holes for eyes, a long curve of brass for a grin. Underneath, scratched into the dirt with the tip of a bayonet. "Welcome to paradise." I just stand there for a long minute, staring at it. The rain pools inside the carved letters, turning them into tiny mirrors. The smile seems to ripple, almost move. I can't decide whether to laugh or spit. Ramirez catches up to me. "What's that?" I step aside so he can see. He looks at it, blinks twice, then shakes his head. "That's messed up." "Yeah," I say. "But it's not wrong." We stare at it together. The smile looks ridiculous, like a joke told too late at a funeral. But there's something honest about it. Whoever made it wasn't trying to be funny. They were trying to tell the truth the only way they could. That this place eats everything, hope, fear, humor, and spits it back out as madness. "Think it was one of ours?" Ramirez asks. "Probably," I say. "We're the only ones crazy enough." He laughs. A single bark of sound. Then we both fall quiet again. Back in camp, the others are sitting under a tarp, passing around a canteen half full of something pretending to be coffee. Hale's cleaning his rifle like it's a ritual. Mitchell's staring at his boots. The air feels heavier than usual. "Find anything?" Hale asks without looking up. "Yeah," I say. A smile. He glances at me, puzzled. "You losing it too?" "Maybe," I admit. Seems like the trend. No one presses for details. They've all seen enough weirdness to know when not to ask. As night creeps in, the rain slows, tapering off to a soft drizzle. The jungle hums again, Frogs, crickets, the low mechanical buzz that fills every silence out here. We sit together under the tarp, staring out at the treeline. Someone lights a cigarette, and the glow of the tip dances like a firefly. Mitchell speaks first. You ever think about what's gonna happen when we go home? Ramirez snorts. You mean if we go home? Mitchell shakes his head. No, I mean what then? How do you tell people about this? About all of it? Nobody answers. Because there isn't an answer. You can't describe a place that doesn't make sense even while you're standing in it. When I finally crawl into my foxhole, I can still see the smiley face in my mind. The grin, the words, the way the rainwater filled the grooves. It sticks with me, burned into the back of my eyelids. I close my eyes and try to sleep. But my brain keeps circling back to that phrase. Welcome to paradise. It's not wrong. Out here, paradise isn't peace or beauty or rest. It's the moment you realize you're still breathing. The moment you laugh at something stupid. The moment you find a dry patch of ground that doesn't collapse under you. Paradise isn't escape. It's endurance. And tonight, in this mud-soaked hole with rain dripping onto my face, I'm alive. Still here. Still waiting. I guess that's as close to paradise as any of us are going to get. Orders come down just before dawn. We're moving. The sergeant reads the message twice, as if saying it slower might make it sound better. New position. Defensive rotation. North sector. Elevated ground near the airfield. No one says the name, but everyone knows what he means. Edson's Ridge. The word moves through camp like a chill. The older Marines go quiet. The new ones don't understand yet. They will. Everyone does, eventually. We pack fast, not because we're eager, but because hesitation feels dangerous. You start to think too much, your hands start to shake, and suddenly every buckle feels like a countdown. I roll my gear tight. Ammo, poncho, socks that will never be dry, and slide my sister's letter into the breast pocket of my jacket. Always close to the heart, even if the paper's already falling apart from sweat and rain. The march begins under a sky the color of pewter. The path up the ridge isn't a road so much as a scar through the jungle, muddy, steep, and cruel. The trees lean inward, their branches tangling overhead like they're whispering about us. The ground oozes underfoot. Every few yards, someone slips, curses, and keeps going. Ramirez hums under his breath. A habit now. A song from home, maybe. It's quiet enough that it almost sounds like the wind. Halfway up, we meet the unit we're replacing. They look like ghosts. Eyes sunk deep, uniforms torn, faces gray from exhaustion. One of them carries a helmet that isn't his, different names scrawled on the inside. He doesn't say why. He doesn't have to. They pass us without a word, heading downhill. The smell of gunpowder clings to them like a second skin. As they vanish into the mist, I realize something. They're not retreating. They're escaping. At the summit, the world opens up just enough to show the airfield. A strip of churned earth and bent metal glimmering faintly through the fog. That's why the ridge matters. Whoever holds this ground controls the sky. If the enemy takes it, they take everything. Our section is a narrow slope overlooking the southern approach. It doesn't look like much, just red clay, tangled roots, and shallow trenches half filled with rainwater. But this is the line now. The thin edge between survival and oblivion. We dig in. Art. Shovels, hands, bayonets, whatever works. We reinforce the foxholes, stack sandbags, weave barbed wire through the underbrush. Every inch of dirt feels like borrowed time. By late afternoon, the air turns electric. The kind of stillness that hums inside your ears. Even the birds go quiet. Somewhere beyond the trees, you can almost hear engines. Low, distant, metallic. Maybe it's your imagination. Maybe not. The ridge feels alive. The ground vibrates under my boots, faint but steady, like the pulse of something buried. Mitchell sits beside me in the foxhole, chewing on a stick of dried fruit. You ever think the jungle's watching? He asks. I don't answer right away. No, I lie. It's just waiting. That night, the sky finally breaks. Rain comes down in hard, slanted sheets, drumming against helmets and leaves. We huddle under ponchos, trying to stay dry and failing. The mud rises fast, crawling up our shins, swallowing our boots. Every few minutes, thunder rolls overhead, shaking the ground. The ridge doesn't sleep, and neither do we. Hail makes the rounds, crouching beside each foxhole. Keep your heads down. Expect movement. Don't shoot shadows. That last line sticks. Don't shoot shadows. As if that's easy. Midnight. The jungle's pitch black again, the rain still falling in thin silver threads. My rifle rests across my knees. My hands ache from gripping it too tight. Somewhere down the slope, a frog croaks once and stops. The silence after feels wrong. Heavy. I scan the tree line, squinting into the dark. Nothing moves. Not yet. Beside me, Mitchell mumbles through chattering teeth. They say this ridge is cursed. Everything's cursed here, I whisper back. Yeah, he says. But this one fights back. I almost smile. Almost. The rain slows, then stops entirely. The air goes still. A kind of still that feels like the world holding its breath. In that silence, I hear my heartbeat again. Slow, steady, real. For a moment, I believe it'll stay that way. That maybe this night will pass without consequence. Then somewhere in the dark, far down the slope, a whistle cuts through the air. Sharp, short, inhuman. The sound freezes every muscle in my body. Hale lifts his hand. Positions, he whispers. The ridge wakes up. Boots shift. Bayonets click. Rifles rise. The jungle goes silent again. And I realize something. The whistle wasn't the start of the fight. It was the jungle saying goodnight. Tomorrow there will be no peace. Only echoes. The rain has stopped, but the jungle still drips. Thick drops sliding from leaves like slow seconds. The smell of wet earth and cordite hangs heavy in the air, even though no one's fired a shot yet. It's the kind of silence that feels rehearsed, as if everything is waiting for the cue to begin. We huddle in our foxholes, hunched under ponchos that do nothing against the damp. The ridge is alive with sound, tiny, nervous noises. The click of a bolt, the scrape of a shovel, a man's cough quickly swallowed. Down the slope, the fog sits low and white, curling like breath from a sleeping beast. Stay sharp, Sergeant Hale whispers as he crawls past. They move before dawn. His voice carries that flat calm you only get after you've already seen the worst. The night stretches thin. My hands are slick against the stock of my rifle. My stomach feels hollow, not from hunger, but from waiting. Then something moves in the mist. At first it's nothing, just a flicker, a darker shape against the dark. Then another. Then more. A line of shadows forming and dissolving in the fog. I press my eye to the sights, breath held. Movement, I whisper. Front slope. Hale doesn't answer, but the message passes down the line like static. Metal clicks. Rifles rise. The ridge goes utterly still. Then the jungle exhales. A shrill whistle cuts through the air, then another, closer. The fog explodes with sound, shouting in Japanese, the high metallic scream of mortar shells, the sharp, snapping echo of rifles. The first explosions hit the ridge like thunderclaps. Mud and fire leap into the air. The ground shudders beneath us, and the night turns to chaos. Fire. Fire. Hale yells. I squeeze the trigger, and the rifle bucks against my shoulder. Muzzle flashes strobe through the darkness, brief glimpses of figures charging uphill, silhouettes outlined in orange bursts. The noise is total. Everything becomes fragments, shouts, screams, flashes, smoke. The jungle itself seems to roar, alive with death. Mitchell beside me fires until his barrel smokes, muttering under his breath with every shot, like a prayer or a curse. Ramirez works the radio, shouting coordinates between bursts of static. The line is alive but breaking, words drowning in the storm of noise. A mortar lands close, too close. The world turns white, then black. My ears ring like church bells. When I blink the dirt from my eyes, the foxholes half collapsed. Mitchell's helmet is gone. He's coughing, clutching his shoulder, still alive. Barely. I drag him down and shove his rifle back into his hands. You good? He nods once, grimacing. I'm not dying here, he says. Not for this damn hill. Another wave hits. Their screams rise and fall, sharp and guttural. The flashes come faster now, grenades arcing through the fog like meteors. One lands close, hissing. Hale kicks it back down the slope before it explodes. The concussion rattles our bones. Dirt showers down. The ridge smells of sulfur and blood. For hours, or minutes, time doesn't exist. The pattern repeats. Assault, silence, assault. The fog glows faintly from the burning brush, every flicker showing faces. Ours, there's impossible to tell apart in the chaos. I stop thinking. Stop counting. Just react. Fire, reload, duck, breathe. The rhythm of survival. At some point, the gunfire slows. The screams fade into the distance. The fog thickens again, turning everything into a ghostly blur. Hale calls ceasefire. The jungle exhales a long, wet breath. And just like that, it's quiet again. I wipe the grime from my face and listen. My ears still ring, but beneath the hum, I can hear the faint hiss of rain returning. The sky above the ridge glows faintly gray. Thought. Bodies litter the slope below, black shapes among the ferns. Some still move barely, others don't. The smell drifts up, thick and metallic. Mitchell slumps beside me, blood seeping through his bandage. "That was the first night?" he asks, voice raw. "Yeah," I say. "Just the first." He lets out a dry laugh. "Then we're already dead." I don't answer. There's nothing to say. Down the line, Hale moves from hole to hole, checking the wounded. His face is streaked with dirt and rain, unreadable. When he passes, he just says one thing: "Get ready. They'll be back." The words hang there like smoke. The sun rises weakly through the mist, painting the ridge in pale gold. It should look beautiful, but it doesn't. The light only makes the damage clearer: the broken trees, the torn earth, the quiet bodies. I close my eyes, trying to remember what morning used to feel like. All I see is fog. All I hear is ringing. All I feel is the ridge, breathing beneath me, alive, waiting. We survived the first night. The question is whether we're supposed to. By the time the second night falls, the ridge is a wound. The air smells of mud, blood, and cordite. Smoke clings to the ground like fog that forgot how to rise. Every tree is splintered, every foxhole half collapsed. You can feel the exhaustion in your teeth. It lives inside your bones now, a pulse that never stops. We spend the day burying the dead. There isn't time for graves, not really, just shallow pits and names muttered into the rain. Hale reads from a torn Bible page. The words melt as he speaks them. When we're done, no one says amen. We just keep digging. The dirt doesn't care who it covers. By sunset, the sky glows red through the mist, and it feels like an omen. The jungle is too quiet again. No birds, no frogs. Just the whisper of wind moving through leaves that never move on their own. Mitchell sits beside me in the foxhole, staring downhill. His face looks older now. The wound on his shoulder seeps through the bandage, but he doesn't mention it. "You hear that?" he whispers. I tilt my head. Nothing but the heartbeat of silence. "Exactly," he says. "That's what scares me." Ramirez is on the radio again, cursing at the static. The connection's weak tonight, the signal cutting in and out like a stuttering ghost. He bangs the receiver against his knee. "I swear this thing's possessed." Hale just grunts. "Keep listening. They'll come when they come." We all know what he means. No one says the word attack. It's like naming it might make it arrive faster. Around 2100, the first whistle drifts through the dark. Long, low, and mournful. It's the same sound as last night, but this time it doesn't echo, it answers. One whistle becomes two, then three. A chain of shrill notes weaving through the trees. Positions. Hale barks. We slide down into our foxholes, fingers tightening on cold metal. The jungle feels close, breathing on the back of our necks. I can see my reflection in the water pooled at my boots, rippling with each heartbeat. Then the mortars begin. The sky splits open. White arcs streak downward, bursting into the ridge like fists from the heavens. The ground shakes, vomits fire, swallows screams. Mud rains from above, thick and warm. The foxhole collapses halfway, and I claw at the sides to keep it from burying me alive. "Hold!" Hale's voice roars through the chaos. I fire blindly into the dark, at shapes that move faster than thought. Figures surge up the slope, small, fast, shouting words I can't understand. The muzzle flashes light their faces for half seconds at a time. Eyes wide, teeth clenched, human and inhuman all at once. The world shrinks to noise. My rifle jams. I slam it against my knee, rip the bolt back, keep firing. The recoil numbs my arm. Each shot feels like proof that I still exist. Ramirez's radio screams with static. Artillery request. Coordinates. The signal cuts out. Grenades explode down the line. A man yells for a medic, then another yells the same thing for him. The night eats their voices. Mitchell throws a grenade, ducks, reloads, fires again. His movements are mechanical now, stripped of thought. He looks like a puppet being worked by exhaustion. When a round grazes his helmet, he just blinks and keeps shooting. I lose count of time. Minutes become noise. Seconds become flashes. The ridge pulses with life and death in the same breath. Then something changes. The gunfire slows, not because they've stopped but because we have. Magazines run dry. The air fills with the hollow click of bolts slamming on empty chambers. Fixed bayonets. Hale shouts. The metal snaps into place, a chorus of finality. The kind of sound that says, if they reach us now, it's hands and teeth. They do reach us. The line shudders. Shadows collide. Mud, sweat, blood. Everything blends. I swing, stab, scream, forget my own voice. Someone's on top of me, I don't know who. We tumble, roll, fight until the jungle swallows us whole. When I come to the ridge is burning. Flames lick through the trees, painting the world in orange and black. The enemy is retreating, their silhouettes vanishing into the smoke. The ground is a graveyard of twisted bodies and shattered rifles. I crawl back to the foxhole, ears ringing, lungs full of smoke. Mitchell's still there, half buried in mud, staring blankly at the tree-line. His hands are shaking, but he's alive. Second night, he croaks. Yeah, I say, sitting beside him. He nods once, eyes unfocused. Feels like we've been here a year. The rain starts again, hissing as it hits the fire. The smoke turns white, then gray. Steam rises from the dead like ghosts heading home. Hale limps past us, his helmet gone, his voice barely above a whisper. They'll try again before dawn. He doesn't need to say it. We already know. The ridge isn't a place anymore. It's a heartbeat, a rhythm that refuses to stop. I look up at the sky, but it's gone. All that's left is smoke, drifting sideways in the wind. Somewhere under it all, I can still hear the faint echo of the whistles, mocking, distant, almost musical. We survived another night, if you can call this living. The ridge is still smoldering when night falls again. The air smells like rust and lightning, metal and rain tangled together. Smoke curls from the trees like ghosts stretching before dawn. Every sound feels sharper now. Every silence feels heavier. No one really sleeps. We just close our eyes and pretend to. Somewhere beyond the line, a frog croaks, then stops mid-note. The quiet that follows feels wrong. The jungle's holding its breath again. Mitchell sits beside me, shoulders slumped, eyes half open. His bandage has bled through twice today, but he refuses to go to the medics. They'll need the morphine for someone worse, he says. Then after a long pause, if anyone's worse. Hale crouches by the radio, cigarette glowing faintly in the dark. His voice is low, steady. Command says expect contact before midnight. Before midnight? Ramirez mutters. They mean again, right? Hale exhales smoke. They always mean again. We check weapons again. Stack ammo again. Wipe the mud from rifle bolts again. Every repetition is a prayer now. A ritual that says, if you do this one more time, maybe you'll live one more night. The rain comes back just before 2300. Thin at first, then harder, until it's pounding the ridge like drumfire. Visibility drops to nothing. The airfield lights are gone, swallowed by cloud and rain. It feels like the world's been erased. Then through the storm, whistles. Dozens this time. From every direction. Positions. Hale shouts. We dive for our foxholes, water sloshing up to our knees. The jungle below flashes white as mortar shells explode across the slope. The ridge shakes like it's alive. I press my rifle tight against my shoulder. Mud splashes into my face. I can't hear my own breathing anymore, just the relentless thunder of rain and shellfire. Then come the voices. Japanese, dozens, maybe hundreds, rising in unison, a sound halfway between a chant and a scream. The hair on my neck stands up. Shapes move in the fog, low, fast, coordinated. They come uphill like the tide. The first line opens fire. The ridge erupts in flame and sound. Tracer rounds streak through the dark like red lightning. Men shout. Grenades arc through the rain, glowing briefly before vanishing into mud and smoke. Someone screams my name. I can't tell who. A mortar lands behind me, close enough that the concussion lifts me off my feet and drops me hard against the trench wall. My ears ring. My vision flashes white, then black, then nothing but static. When the world comes back, Hale's dragging someone by the collar through the mud. A kid from another platoon. Half his face is red. Hale drops him beside the medics and dives back into the fight without a word. I reload by feel, hands shaking so bad I almost drop the magazine. The barrel's too hot to touch, but I keep firing. Every shot is automatic now. Breath, squeeze, recoil, reload. I stopped thinking hours ago. The Japanese charge again. Closer this time. They hit the wire. The sound of it snapping is the worst thing I've ever heard. Hold the line. Hale roars. His voice sounds far away, buried under the storm. Mitchell's next to me, yelling something I can't make out. Then a grenade lands between us. I see it. I move. It goes off before I can breathe. When I blink the mud from my eyes, the world is slow. Mitchell's down. Not moving. Smoke pours from the crater between us. My ears are bleeding. I drag him back, fingers slipping on his jacket. His chest rises, barely. He's alive, but only just. Stay with me, I whisper. You hear me? Stay. He blinks once. Maybe that's an answer. The line buckles. Men are yelling for ammo, for medics, for God. The jungle flashes white again, the light painting every face in stark relief. Eyes wide, mouths open, fear and fury indistinguishable. I grab another magazine and fire into the mist until it clicks empty. Again. The rain turns red in places. Then slowly the screams fade. The firing thins. The whistles stop. Hale's voice breaks through the static of silence. Cease fire. For a moment I think he's wrong. That this is another trick. That the jungle is just catching its breath. But no. The ridge is quiet again. The rain keeps falling, heavy and slow, washing over everything. Mud, blood, and the dead. I crawl back into the foxhole, chest heaving. Mitchell's still breathing, shallow but steady. I tear what's left of my sleeve and wrap it tighter around his wound. Ramirez leans beside us, laughing softly. You know, he says, if we keep surviving, they're gonna start running out of ghosts. I don't laugh. I just stare into the dark where the jungle waits, silent, patient, endless. When dawn comes, it doesn't look like morning. It looks like smoke turning pale. The ridge still stands. So do we. Barely. And for now, that's enough. No one says the word miracle, but it hangs in the air anyway. We're still here. The ridge, somehow still ours. But the cost clings to everything. The mud, the smell, the silence. The kind of silence that sounds like an apology. The morning after the second assault, the fog lingers low over the slope. Bodies, ours and theirs, dot the hillside, half buried in the clay. Hale orders a recovery team, but half of them can't walk straight from exhaustion. We drag the wounded back first. The rest we cover with ponchos. The flies come fast. Mitchell's alive, though barely. The medic says the shrapnel missed the artery by an inch. He's pale, sweating, whispering things that don't make sense. The river's calling, he says once before slipping into sleep. I don't ask what he means. By noon, the rain returns. Not the gentle kind. The punishing kind. The kind that feels personal. It falls in sheets so heavy you can't tell sky from earth. The ridge becomes a swamp. Foxholes fill faster than we can bail them. We use helmets as buckets, laughing in that manic, hopeless way that doesn't sound like laughter at all. Hale stands under a torn tarp, map in hand, rain streaming off his helmet. They'll come again, he says flatly. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Doesn't matter. Be ready. We're past ready. We're hollowed out. Every man's face looks carved from clay. No one shaves anymore. No one bothers. The only things clean are the rifles. When night falls, it doesn't creep. It drops. Like a curtain. The ridge vanishes. The jungle becomes one endless black. We set trip flares along the wire, rig grenades to tin cans, anything that might buy us a second of warning. The air is thick and slow. Even breathing feels like work. I check my rifle again. Clean. Loaded. Pointless comfort. Ramirez mutters to himself while tuning the radio. Static again. Damn thing's allergic to good news. Maybe that's Mercy, I say. He snorts. Mercy's not on this island. At 2200, we hear it. Not the whistles this time. Drums. Faint. Far off. But real. It starts as a rhythm, low, measured beats drifting through the trees. Someone says it's thunder. It's not. Thunder doesn't keep time. The sound grows. Louder. Closer. The ridge hums beneath our boots. Positions. Hale shouts. We dive into the foxholes, mud up to our shins, hearts thudding in sync with that impossible drum. The rain hides everything. Then the flares go off. The jungle lights up white. Dozens, no hundreds, of figures surge up the slope. Screaming. Bayonets glint. Rifles flash. The third wave. I fire until my rifle kicks empty, reload without thinking. My hands move faster than thought. Every muzzle flash burns an image into my eyes. Men falling, men running, men on fire. A grenade lands 2 holes down. The explosion lifts dirt and bodies alike. Someone screams for a corpsman. No one answers. The Japanese push harder this time. They reach the wire, break it, pour through. The fight becomes hand-to-hand. Wet, chaotic, blind. The smell of blood mixes with the stink of wet canvas and oil. A man lunges at me from the dark. His face is mud and rain and fury. I pull the trigger. Nothing. Jab. We crash together in the muck, fists and steel and breath. The world narrows to a single heartbeat. I shove him off, slam the rifle butt forward, and the noise stops. I don't look. I just breathe. Lightning flashes. For a moment, the whole ridge glows silver, like something divine decided to look. Then it's gone and we're back in hell. Hale moves along the line, shouting orders, dragging ammo boxes through the mud. He looks immortal in the lightning, a shadow made of grit. Hold the line, he yells. No one breaks. The men answer, not with words but with fire. Minutes stretch into hours. The rain drowns the gunfire, turns every explosion into a muffled roar. The ridge becomes a living thing, bleeding, shaking, refusing to die. At some point I hear singing. Oh, soft. From our line. It's Ramirez. He's singing "You Are My Sunshine," barely audible under the chaos. Others pick it up, quietly, brokenly. Voices cracking off-key, desperate. The sound doesn't scare the enemy, but it steadies us. The assault breaks near dawn. The screams fade, replaced by the hiss of rain on empty ground. The Japanese retreat, leaving behind the dead and the smell of smoke. We don't cheer. We don't even move. We just stare at the slope, steam rising from it like the earth itself is exhaling. Hale drops beside me, breathing hard. His uniform soaked, his eyes bloodshot. That was it, he says. 3 nights. They won't try again. I nod, but I don't believe him. No one does. When the sun finally rises, it's faint and colorless. The sky looks washed out, like even it's tired of watching. We survived the 3rd night. But something changed. We're not soldiers anymore. We're ghosts that learned how to shoot. Morning doesn't come so much as it arrives, hesitant and gray, like it's not sure it's welcome here. The rain has finally stopped, but the ridge is drowned anyway, mud slick and red, air thick with smoke. The trees are gone, shaved down to blackened stumps. Everything smells like iron and rot. Hale stands at the edge of the slope, arms folded. His uniform is torn, his helmet dented, his eyes hollow. Below him, the hillside is carpeted with bodies, American, Japanese, indistinguishable in the ruin. He doesn't speak for a long time. Then quietly, "We held." No one answers. Because held doesn't sound like victory anymore. It sounds like an accident. We move like old men. Slow. Wordless. Some of the boys start collecting rifles. Others drag the wounded to the medics. The dead we cover with ponchos again. The same ritual, the same silence. The same understanding that this ground doesn't belong to anyone, it just borrows us for a while. Mitchell's still alive. Barely. The corpsman changes his bandage, murmurs that he needs evacuation. But the choppers won't come yet. The airfield's still too unstable, still under watch. So he waits. We all wait. Did we win? He asks me, voice dry and cracked. I don't know how to answer. The ground hums faintly under our boots, as if the ridge itself is still trembling from the night before. Steam rises from the mud in lazy curls. When I close my eyes, I can still hear the drums. By midday, the sun finally breaks through. Feels wrong, almost cruel, too clean, too bright. The ridge looks smaller in daylight, almost harmless. You'd never guess how much it took to keep it. A few of the new replacements climb up the path from below. Their boots are dry. Their uniforms still have color. One of them looks around, jaw tight. This is it? This is the ridge. Ramirez laughs once, short and sharp. Yeah, this is it. The edge of the world. They don't understand yet. They will. Hale calls us together in what's left of the command post. A pit lined with broken crates and soaked maps. Command says the enemy's retreating west, he says. We'll hold position until relieved. Someone asks when that'll be. Hale just shakes his head. Soon. Soon has lost all meaning out here. When the meeting ends, I walk down the ridge alone. The mud clings to my boots, heavy as guilt. Halfway down, I stop at the foxholes where the first squad used to be. What's left of them now are names scratched into ammo boxes. Someone's carved a crude cross into a tree stump nearby. It leans. Everything leans here. I find a helmet half buried in the clay. I wipe it clean. There's no name, just a dent, a hole, and a bit of dried mud where the chin strap used to be. I set it upright and walk away. Back at the line, Hale's lighting a cigarette with hands that don't quite stop shaking. He offers me one. I take it. The smoke tastes like rust and rain. Hell of a fight, he says. Yeah, I reply. Hell of a place. He exhales slowly. They'll write about it, you know. Call it a victory. I look at the hillside. At the black trees, the torn ground, the motionless figures that used to be men. Maybe, I say. But they'll never write what it sounded like. That night, the ridge is quiet. Too quiet. No gunfire. No mortars. No whistles in the dark. Just the slow creak of the jungle returning to itself. The frogs start first. Then the insects. Then the wind. Life creeping back in, cautious but certain. I lie in my foxhole, eyes on the thin slice of sky above. The stars look dim, but they're there. I count them until I lose track. Ramirez hums somewhere nearby, softly, the same tune as before. You are my sunshine. His voice cracks halfway through, but he keeps going. For the first time in days, I don't grip my rifle while I listen. I just let the sound drift over me, faint and human. Tomorrow they'll send replacements. Tomorrow we'll dig new holes, stack new sandbags, pretend this ground isn't haunted. But tonight we rest. Not because it's safe, but because the ridge, for once, has stopped breathing like it wants to eat us. Mitchell murmurs in his sleep something about home. Hale snores quietly under the tarp. Ramirez hums until the song fades into the hum of insects. And me? I just lie there, staring at the dark, feeling the pulse of the earth beneath me. The battle's over. But the war's still in the air, like the smoke that never quite clears. The mail finally comes 3 days after the ridge goes quiet. A jeep rolls up the hill, wheels sinking in the muck, driven by a corporal whose face is too clean for this place. In the back, canvas bags marked U.S. mail. You'd think someone delivered gold. Men gather around, silent at first, then whispering names. Fingers tremble as envelopes are handed out, each one fragile as glass. Some men smile. Some don't. Some just stare at the paper like it's a ghost. Ramirez gets 3 letters and vanishes behind a tarp to read them alone. Hale takes one, looks at the handwriting, folds it without opening it, and slides it into his pocket. Mine is from my sister. The same looping cursive. The same smell of soap and home. Dear Eli, it begins. We saw your name in the paper, part of the brave Marines holding the line. Mom cried. Dad said he always knew you'd make him proud. The neighbor's dog had puppies. You'd like them. I stopped there. Can't read more. The words feel too clean. Like they belong to another world. Mitchell, bandaged and pale, asks if I'll read his letter to him. His eyes are half shut, the morphine dulling his edges. It's from his mother. I clear my throat. They say the war's almost over, she wrote. You'll be home soon. I planted the tomatoes where you used to hide your marbles. They're doing fine. He smiles barely. Guess I was good at planting. Then he drifts back to sleep. The ridge is quieter now, but not peaceful. The jungle hums again, alive but cautious, like it's testing whether it's allowed to breathe. Smoke still curls from the burned trees. Every gust of wind smells faintly of gunpowder and rot. We spend the morning rebuilding trenches, drying gear, pretending routine means recovery. Hale watches from the command post, eyes sunken but alert. Keep busy, he says. Idle minds go bad here. He's right. The quiet is dangerous. Too much thinking makes ghosts louder. That afternoon, the medics carry Mitchell down the hill on a stretcher. He waves weakly as he passes. We all wave back. Nobody says goodbye. That word's too heavy here. When the column disappears into the trees, Ramirez mutters, "He'll make it." Yeah, I say. He has to. The rest of the day bleeds into a blur of digging, patching, and silence. The ridge looks the same as always, but it feels different. Hollowed out. Tamed maybe, but at what cost? At dusk, Hale gathers us by what used to be the mess tent. The fire sputters, damp wood refusing to catch. We're holding till relief, he says. 2 days, maybe 3. You've earned the rest. Then softer, and the quiet. No one cheers. But when he walks away, Ramirez leans in. You think he believes that? No, I answer. But he wants us to. That night I pull out the letter again. Read it under the weak glow of a lantern. The words blur in places, rain smudging the ink. Mom says the church bells ring every Sunday now, even for no reason. Says it's a good sound. Says you'd like it. I close my eyes and try to remember the sound of bells. I can't. All I hear are whistles, drums, rain. I write back anyway. The words come slow. Still here. Weather's bad. We held the ridge. Thinking of home. Then I stop. My pencil hovers. There's more I want to say, about the smell, the faces, the fear, but I can't. Some truths aren't meant for paper. I fold the letter, seal it, and hand it to Ramirez. He nods, tucks it into the outgoing bag. You'll get a reply, he says. Maybe, I answer. Maybe not. Later, when the moon finally breaks through the clouds, I sit at the edge of the trench and look out at the valley below. The jungle glistens under silver light, deceptively calm. Somewhere out there, the enemy is retreating, or waiting. It doesn't matter. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm waiting too. The ridge doesn't own me anymore. Not fully. But it marked me. Like mud on skin that never washes clean. Hale walks up beside me, cigarette glowing faintly. You write home? He asks. Yeah. He nods. Good. Helps remind you there's still a world out there. I glance at him. You write. He takes a long drag, exhales. Not anymore. We stand in silence. The wind moves through the burned trees, a sound halfway between rustling and whispering. Then Hale says almost to himself, there's no quiet war. Just quiet after it. He walks away. I sit there until the cigarette smoke fades and the jungle hums again. For the first time in weeks, I feel something like calm. Not peace. Never peace. But the fragile rhythm of a man still breathing. I close my eyes, listen to the ridge. The night hums soft and endless. And for once, it doesn't sound like fear. It sounds like survival. The rain doesn't fall anymore. It arrives. Not drops. Not drizzle. Just walls of water slamming down from a sky that's forgotten restraint. The sound is endless, a steady roar that drowns out voices, thoughts, even prayers. By the second day, the ridge is half river. Foxholes fill to the brim, rifles rust before our eyes, and every step makes a noise like something dying in the mud. You can't tell where the trenches end and the earth begins. We build drainage channels using mess tins and helmets, shovels long since broken. It doesn't help. The water keeps rising. Ramirez says the island's trying to swallow us whole. Hale just grunts and keeps digging. By noon, the command post collapses. The map table sinks with it, washing away lines, grids, and every bit of order that ever existed here. Someone laughs. It's not a good sound. Mitchell's gone now, evacuated 2 days ago, but his empty foxhole fills first. I watch the rain pour into it, slow and steady, until it looks like a small pond. Hale tells me to help clear it. I can't. I just stare. Move, he says quietly, and that's enough. We dig until our hands bleed. The mud's thick as glue, stinking of rot. Every scoop feels heavier than the last. When I pause to rest, the rain fills the hole faster than I can empty it. It becomes a kind of madness, bailing, digging, cursing the sky. Every man is soaked to the bone, skin wrinkled and soft, feet raw. Some try to joke. Maybe the Japanese will drown before we do. No one laughs this time. By evening, the ridge is unrecognizable. The fires are drowned. The sandbags float like gray ghosts. The jungle looks cleaner, newer, like the island's washing itself of us. We crowd under tarps stretched between rifles and bayonets, our makeshift roofs sagging under the weight of water. The air smells like mildew and smoke, and everyone's breath steams in the wet chill. Hale moves between shelters, checking on us one by one. His voice is steady but cracked. Keep your weapons dry, he says, though it's impossible. Keep your heads up. Ramirez sits beside me, wringing out his shirt. You ever think, he says, maybe this isn't punishment? Maybe it's baptism. Baptism for what? He shrugs. For surviving. Lightning flashes over the jungle, followed by a roll of thunder that sounds too close. We flinch, all of us like trained animals. The flash fades, but the echo stays, bouncing through the valley until it feels like the sky's breathing. Someone farther down the line starts singing again, off-key, broken. The same tune as always. You are my sunshine. No one joins in this time. The words feel too far away. The night passes like that, half awake, half drowned. I sit with my rifle across my knees, water running off the barrel in small rivulets. My fingers are numb, my thoughts slow. The rain beats against my helmet like an impatient drum. At some point I think about the river, how we used to wash there before it turned off limits. I imagine the water running clear, washing through the trenches, carrying everything away, the rifles, the boots, the ghosts. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Around 0300, a section of the ridge gives way. The mud slides with a groan like a dying animal. 2 men vanish in seconds, swept down the slope before anyone can shout. We scramble toward the edge, shouting their names. Nothing answers but rain. Hale orders us back. "You can't save the earth," he says. "It's already gone." We retreat to higher ground, what's left of it, and rebuild again. Smaller trenches this time. Shallower. Pointless. But the act itself keeps us sane. Movement means purpose. Stillness means memory. By dawn, the rain slows to a drizzle. The ridge looks like it's been erased and redrawn in haste. Half our gear is gone. Half our strength too. Hale stands at the center of it all, water dripping from his helmet, his voice hoarse. "We'll start again," he says. "Always do." Ramirez chuckles softly. "Sure, Sarge. Build it up so the next storm can knock it down." Hale looks at him. "Then we'll build again after that." It's not optimism. It's defiance. The kind that keeps men alive when everything else wants them dead. As the sun rises, weak, pale, almost apologetic, it glints off the puddles like shards of glass. For the first time in days, I see color again. Green, brown, blue. The island pretending to be beautiful. I sit on what's left of the trench wall, pull out my notebook and write. The rain tried to erase us. It didn't. Then I close it, tuck it away and start digging again. Because out here, the only way to keep from disappearing is to leave another mark before the next storm finds you. The rain stops, but the river doesn't. It swells like something alive, angry at being caged so long. From the ridge, you can see it shimmering through the trees, wider than before, churning brown and silver under the half-sun. The sound of it never ends, a deep, endless rush like the island breathing out. Command says we need a patrol. Check for debris. Enemy movement. Flood damage. Words that sound routine, almost harmless. But everyone knows what it means. The jungle's changing again and we have to walk into it first. Hale picks 5 of us. Me, Ramirez, 2 replacements, and Private Dorsey, a quiet kid from Kansas who still wipes mud from his boots like it matters. "Keep it tight," Hale says, handing us the radio. "Don't get clever. Don't get lost." We move out at dawn. The air's thick, steaming from yesterday's storm. Every step sinks. The mud makes a sound like it's swallowing secrets. The jungle smells fresh, but not clean. It's a heavy smell, green and rotten all at once. The path down is half gone, washed out where the hillside slid. We pick our way through, grabbing roots for balance, boots slipping on wet clay. A few times we hear movement in the underbrush. Maybe monkeys, maybe not. No one speaks much. There's a rhythm to patrols now. Watch, walk, breathe, listen. The silence between us feels like its own kind of communication. When we reach the river, it's unrecognizable. What used to be a shallow crossing is now a wide, snarling current that eats at its own banks. Fallen trees drift past, branches clawing at the air. The surface looks smooth until you step closer and see how fast it's moving, how powerful it really is. "Hell," Ramirez mutters. "Looks like the Pacific moved inland." We spread out along the bank, scanning both sides. The ground here's softer, footprints already washing away as fast as they form. Dorsey kneels, pointing at something in the mud. A canteen. U.S. issue. Half buried. "Could be ours," I say. "Could be theirs," he answers. There's no difference anymore. Further downstream, the water eddies around something big lodged against a rock. We wade closer, knee-deep, rifles slung high, and see what it is. A body. Half decayed, tangled in roots and weeds. No helmet. Uniform shredded. The river's been keeping him. Ramirez swears softly. "Jesus." I crouch beside him. The tags are still there, glinting faintly beneath the muck. I wipe them clean. The name means nothing to me, but it hits anyway. "We'll take them back," I say. Ramirez nods. "He's one of ours. You can tell by the boots." We dig around the roots, careful not to let the current pull him away. The water's cold, biting. When we finally free him, he floats for a moment, face turned to the sky, then bumps against the shore. The replacements stare, pale and silent. For them it's new. For us it's routine. We wrap him in a poncho, mark the spot on the map, and radio it in. Static answers first, then Hale's voice, grainy but clear. Copy that. Get back soon. Weather's shifting again. We start back, following the same trail, but the jungle never keeps its promises. The river's carved new channels, washed away old paths. What was solid ground this morning is now sludge. The humidity is suffocating. Halfway up the hill, Dorsey stops suddenly. You hear that? I freeze. Nothing. Just wind. Then, a hum. Low, rhythmic, almost like chanting. Coming from deeper in the trees. Ramirez frowns. Locals. No locals here, I whisper. We edge closer, slow, rifles ready. The sound grows clearer, voices soft and layered carried on the air. But when we reach the clearing, there's nothing. Just the jungle dripping, steaming, alive. No people. No footprints. Just the echo of something that used to be here. Ramirez exhales. This island's haunted. Yeah, I say. By us. The rest of the hike is silent. No one looks back at the river. When we reach camp, the air feels heavier, darker. The rain hasn't returned, but it wants to. We hand off the dog tags to Hale. He wipes them clean, stares at the name for a long moment, then pockets them. Good work, he says, though his voice sounds like gravel. That night I can still hear the river. Even up here on the ridge, the sound travels, the endless rush, steady and merciless. I lie awake and think about that face in the water, that body caught in roots. About how easy it would be to vanish here, to be carried away and never found. Maybe that's why the jungle hums. Maybe it's just keeping count. When the rain returns around midnight, I pull my poncho tighter and whisper to no one, we brought one home today. The jungle answers with thunder. It starts with a rumor. They always do. Someone says a patrol didn't come back from the West Ridge. 5 men. Due at dusk, gone by dawn. No radio calls, no flares, no sound. Just gone. Hale doesn't like rumors. He calls it unverified intelligence. But his eyes give him away. He's already thinking about where they disappeared. Probably lost the trail, Ramirez says. Happens. Not for this long, Hale mutters. By noon, the rumor's a fact. Command confirms, squad echo, missing 20 hours. Last known position near the old coconut grove, halfway between our line and the coast. The same place the river patrol passed 2 days ago. The same place the jungle felt wrong. Hale pulls us together. 10 men, damp, tired, half-drenched in fatigue. We're going to find them, he says. We move light and fast. No stray shots. No noise unless it's necessary. No one argues. No one ever does. The silence that follows is agreement enough. We head out at 1400. The jungle closes around us almost immediately. It's thicker here, denser, wetter. Every sound feels amplified. The click of gear, the wet slap of boots, the creak of straps. Somewhere above, monkeys shriek, then go silent again. After an hour, we find the first sign. A snapped branch. A spent shell casing half buried in mud. Then more, footprints, too deep, heading in one direction, not out. The air smells faintly of smoke. Not recent, but close enough that it lingers. Dorsey points ahead. Over there. We move toward it, slow, rifles up. The path narrows until we're single file again, backs brushing leaves slick as oil. The sound of the river follows us, fainter now, replaced by the soft whine of insects. Then we see the clearing. At first it looks empty. Then you notice the equipment, abandoned packs, scattered ration tins, a rifle propped against a tree like someone meant to come back for it. No bodies. No blood. Just absence. Ramirez whispers, maybe they got pulled back. Hale shakes his head. No orders came through. They were on recon only. I crouch near the rifle. It's clean. Wiped down. Someone left it deliberately. Something rustles behind us. We spin, rifles raised. Nothing. Just vines swaying. But I swear I heard it. Footsteps, careful, measured. Could be an animal, Dorsey says. I shake my head. Animals don't stop when you stop. We move again, slower now. The path dips into a shallow gully. The mud here is darker, almost black. It smells like rot and rain and something metallic. Then we find one. Face down in the water. Uniform torn, helmet gone. One arm tangled in roots as if the earth refused to let him go. The tag on his collar reads Keller. Echo Squad. Ramirez kneels beside him, jaw tight. He's fresh, he says. Day maybe less. We turn him over, careful. His eyes are open. There's no visible wound, no blood. Just a look, like he saw something right before it happened and never got the chance to understand it. Hale exhales through his teeth. We mark him and move. There were 4 more. We follow the trail deeper into the jungle. The air gets colder. Real cold. Not weather cold, something else. Something wrong. We find the next 2 together, sitting upright against a fallen tree. Both rifles empty. Both hands frozen around the grips. Their faces are calm. Too calm. Dorsey whispers, they didn't even try to reload. Ramirez crosses himself. Maybe they didn't have time. Hale says nothing. He just stares. We keep moving until the light starts to change. The jungle glows green and gold, shadows stretching long and thin. You can feel it watching now, the weight of the place pressing in from all sides. Then, faintly through the trees, a sound. Singing. Oh, slow. Familiar. You are my sunshine. Ramirez freezes. That's our song, he whispers. We move toward it, drawn like moths. The singing grows louder, clearer. Male voices. American voices. But when we reach the source, there's no one there. Just a cluster of empty foxholes half filled with water, the sound echoing between them like a trick of the air. The song fades, replaced by wind. Hale looks around once, then lowers his rifle. We're leaving, he says. His voice doesn't rise, but everyone moves. Fast. We retrace our steps in silence. No one looks back. The jungle seems darker now, the air thicker. When we finally reach the ridge again, it's full night. Hale reports what we found. Command tells him to file it under enemy ambush, unconfirmed. No one believes that. Later, Ramirez sits by the dying fire, staring into it like it might blink first. You think they're still out there? He asks. I think the jungle took them, I say. He nods slowly. Yeah, and maybe it's still hungry. When I close my eyes that night, I hear the river again. And behind it, faint but clear. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. I don't sleep after that. None of us do. Sleep becomes a rumor. No one admits it out loud, but nobody's really sleeping anymore. Not after the Lost Squad. Not after that song. The night stretched too long. The wind sounds like footsteps, the rain like whispers. The jungle moves when it shouldn't, branches swaying in still air, vines trembling without cause. Even Hale's begun to twitch at sudden noises, though he hides it well. Ramirez keeps the radio on even when the signal's dead. For the company, he says, tapping the dial like it's a heartbeat. The static fills the camp, soft, constant, human in its own strange way. By dawn, the fog rolls in thick. It smells faintly of smoke again. We eat what passes for breakfast, cold rations and silence. Nobody mentions the patrol. Nobody has to. Then Dorsey says it. I saw Keller last night. The name drops like a shell in water. Hale freezes mid-bite. You what? He was standing by the tree line, Dorsey says. His voice is steady, but his hands aren't. Helmet, rifle, everything. I called to him, but he didn't answer. Just turned and walked into the fog. Ramirez stares. You sure it wasn't a trick of the light? There's no light here, Dorsey says. Not at night. No one speaks for a while. The rain starts again, soft but relentless. Hale finally says, you see him again, you don't call. You don't move. You tell me first. But his voice lacks conviction. Even he doesn't believe orders matter much anymore. We spend the morning reinforcing the perimeter. The jungle's been reclaiming it, roots curling through barbed wire, vines wrapping around the trip flares. Everything grows here, even where death's supposed to stop it. While I'm working, I find something half buried in the mud. A photograph. Waterlogged but intact. 5 men smiling. Echo Squad. The missing ones. Their names scrawled on the back in pencil. I wipe it clean, slip it into my pocket, and don't tell anyone. At noon, the air changes. The jungle goes quiet again. The unnatural quiet that always means something's coming. Only this time, it doesn't sound like battle. It feels closer, heavier, personal. Ramirez grips his rifle tighter. Feels like being watched. I nod. We are. We don't see them, but we hear it. Voices. Well, muffled. Half words in English, half in nothing we can recognize. They drift between the trees, fading in and out like a broken signal. Hale signals us to hold fire. Could be stragglers, he whispers. But the voices don't move like men. They circle. They hum. Then one of them laughs. A short, wet sound that freezes everyone in place. We hold position for an hour. Nothing happens. The jungle just watches. When the light starts to dim, we pull back to camp. Ramirez mutters, "This island's got too many ghosts." Hale doesn't argue. He just says, "We make it through tonight." That's all. That night, the fog returns thicker than ever. It seeps into the foxholes, blurring edges, swallowing shapes. You can't tell where the ground ends and the air begins. I sit awake, rifle across my knees, trying to breathe quietly. Every sound feels magnified. The drip of water, the scratch of insects, the faint crackle of the dying fire. Then I hear it. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Coming from the tree line. I raise my rifle. Password. I whisper. No answer. The steps stop. Then a figure appears, half seen through the mist. Helmet. Rifle. Uniform caked in mud. Keller? I whisper before I can stop myself. The figure tilts its head. Doesn't move closer. Doesn't breathe. Then just as suddenly it's gone. The fog swallows it whole. I don't sleep after that. None of us do. At dawn, the camp looks the same. The fog's burned off. Everything feels normal again. Too normal. Dorsey's missing. His rifle's still in his foxhole. His pack's untouched. There's a single set of footprints leading toward the trees. Hale's face hardens. "Search line," he orders. We comb the jungle for hours. Nothing. Not a sign. Only near the river do we find something. A scrap of cloth caught on a branch and a voice. Soft. Humming. "You are my sunshine." Ramirez whispers, "He's gone." Hale closes his eyes. No. He's just part of it now. We return to camp as the sky turns gray again. The ridge is quiet. The jungle hums. That night I take the photo from my pocket. 5 men smiling. I add a 6th name on the back. Dorsey. Then I fold it and tuck it deeper away. The jungle keeps its count, and I keep mine. The rain stops, but the sound never does. Even in silence, something hums, low, constant, like the island itself has a heartbeat. It thrums in the mud, in the metal, in our skulls. The ridge feels smaller now. Or maybe we've just filled it with too many ghosts. Dorsey's gone. The jungle took him without a fight. No blood, no scream, no sign, just absence. Hale doesn't mention it. He doesn't have to. By morning, Ramirez is back on the radio. He says it keeps him sane. I think it's the opposite. The static's been louder lately, fuzzing and pulsing like breath against glass. The frequency jumps even when untouched. Probably humidity, he mutters, adjusting the dials. Probably, I say, though the air's bone dry today. We sit there listening to nothing, the kind of nothing that isn't empty, just waiting. Then, faintly under the static, a voice. Ridge, hold, repeat, hold. Ramirez jerks upright. You hear that? I nod. Command? He shakes his head. Wrong frequency. The voice fades, then returns, softer this time, warped by distance or something worse. Still here, still waiting. The words repeat, over and over. The same phrase, slightly different each time, as if whoever's speaking keeps forgetting how it's supposed to sound. Hale strides over. What V you got? Transmission, Ramirez says. Weak looping. Doesn't sound like ours. Hale grabs the headset, listens for a few seconds, then lowers it slowly. That voice, he says, who does it sound like to you? I swallow hard. Dorsey. No one moves. The only sound is the static, thick and alive. Hale sets the headset down carefully. Nobody touches the radio, he says. Nobody. We don't. But we all keep listening anyway. That afternoon, the jungle goes quiet again. No wind, no birds. The air feels stretched thin like something's pressing down on it from above. Every movement feels wrong, boots too loud, breaths too sharp. Then, without warning, the radio snaps to life. Hold the ridge, hold the ridge. It's Dorsey's voice. No doubt this time. You can hear the Kansas drawl, the way he drags the word ridge. Ramirez looks pale. Could be a recording, he says. From where? I ask. We don't record patrol chatter. The transmission cuts, then returns louder. It's dark here. The signal warps, pops, dies. We all stare at the radio like it's something breathing. Hale finally says, "Pack it up. We're done for today." But that night, long after lights out, I hear it again. Not through the radio, through the air. It's dark here, soft, far away. I sit up, scanning the fog. Nothing. Just the outlines of tents and the faint glow of embers. Ramirez is awake too. "You heard it?" "Yeah." He exhales shakily. "Then I'm not crazy." The fog thickens, curling low like smoke. Shapes form and unform inside it, bodies maybe, or tricks of light. I blink. The shapes vanish. Somewhere beyond the ridge, something metallic clatters. A rifle falling? A helmet? Hale calls out, "Password." No answer. Then whistling. Not enemy. Human. The same tune as always. "You are my sunshine." Ramirez grips my arm. "That's Dorsey." "Stay down," I whisper. The whistling drifts closer, weaving between the trees. It stops just beyond the perimeter. Then the voice comes, soft and flat. "Still here." A flare goes up. White light washes over the trees. Nothing. Just branches and rain. The flare dies. The jungle breathes again. No one talks for the rest of the night. The next morning, Hale smashes the radio with the butt of his rifle. "Enough ghosts," he says. But the static doesn't stop. It lingers, faint and invisible in the air itself, like the islands learned our language and is whispering it back. That night, when I close my eyes, I still hear it. Still here, still waiting. I don't know anymore if it's Dorsey or the ridge, or just my own voice coming back through the dark. The morning comes heavy, thick with mist that crawls up from the valley like breath. It's been 3 nights since the radio broke or since Hale broke it, but somehow the static still lingers in the air. You can almost hear it in the wind. A faint hiss, a whisper just under hearing, like the jungle itself tuned in. Ramirez tries to laugh it off. Guess the island doesn't like being ignored. No one laughs back. We eat in silence. No talk. No cigarettes. Even the matches feel like they burn quieter. Hale's eyes keep flicking toward the tree-line. He's pretending not to expect something, which means he's expecting everything. Then, mid-morning, the sound. A burst of static. Not from the radio. From everywhere. The air hums like a live wire. Then, beneath the static, a voice. "This is command." Repeat, "This is command. Prepare for immediate evacuation." Over. We all freeze. Ramirez drops his tin of rations. What the hell? The sound comes again, clearer this time. Evacuation at 0900 hours. Ridge position to withdraw to river sector. Confirm receipt. Hale's already moving. Check the backup set. Now. Ramirez scrambles to the supply crate, pulls out the spare transceiver, the one we haven't used in weeks. He flicks the switch. The voice is still there, repeating on loop. Evacuation. 0900. Confirm. Sounds real. Too real. But so did Dorsey. Hale presses the mic. "This is Ridge Outpost. Copy evacuation order. Please confirm authentication code." The line hisses, crackles, then silence. No response. Ramirez turns to Hale. "Could be signal interference." "Could be worse," Hale says. The voice returns, same words, same tone, same inflection. Like someone pressing play on a recording. Evacuation. 0900. Confirm. It repeats, perfectly identical. Every breath, every pause. Ramirez swallows hard. That's not command. We look at each other. It's the same helpless feeling as before, the one right before the shells fall, when you know something's coming and there's nowhere to go. Hale steps back. Nobody moves until we get visual contact from command. We stay put. "But if it's real," I start. "If it's real," he says, "they'll send a chopper. If it's not, we'll end up in that damn river again." We wait. Hours crawl by. The jungle doesn't move. Even the rain stopped, as if it's waiting too. Then, faintly in the distance, engine noise. "Chopper," Ramirez whispers. We rush to the clearing, eyes straining against the glare. A black shape moves through the fog, blades chopping slow and heavy. But something's wrong. No tail number. No markings. Just a blank, dark shape gliding low over the trees. Hale waves the signal panel. Identify. The chopper doesn't change course. Doesn't tilt. Doesn't acknowledge. It hovers for a moment, just long enough for us to see the figures inside. Helmets, faces, motionless. Then it turns, vanishes into the mist. No sound, no downdraft, no wake, just gone. Ramirez lowers his rifle. "That didn't happen," he says. "Tell me it didn't." No one answers. Back at camp, Hale sits with his head in his hands, muttering the authentication codes under his breath, like a prayer that might make the world solid again. Then the radio crackles one last time. "You're late." Just 2 words. No accent. No distortion. No static. Just cold clarity. The men stare at the box like it's breathing. Ramirez's voice cracks. "Who's late?" No reply. That night, we keep the fire burning higher than usual. Hale doesn't order lights out. He just says, "Stay where there's warmth." Nobody talks about leaving anymore. Nobody talks about anything. But every so often the air hums again, soft, electric, close to human, and if you listen long enough you can still hear that voice under the static. "Prepare for evacuation. You're late." Sometimes it sounds like command. Sometimes it sounds like Dorsey. Sometimes it sounds like me. And sometimes when the wind hits just right, I swear it sounds like the ridge itself, calling us home. They came at dusk. The light had that strange, bleeding quality, half gold, half gray, when shadows stretch longer than they should. The jungle was still. Even the insects had gone quiet, like they knew something was crossing into the ridge. Ramirez saw them first. "Movement," he whispered, crouched near the trench line. "Coming from the valley." Hale joined him, raising the binoculars. 5 figures climbing slowly through the fog. Helmets, rifles slung. Uniforms dark with rain and mud. "Friendly?" I asked. He didn't answer. We waited as they drew closer. The shapes resolved. Men, definitely men. Their gait was strange, stiff but deliberate, like their joints had forgotten how to bend naturally. "Could be reinforcements," Dyer said. "One of the replacements, young and still hopeful enough to believe in rescue." Hale raised a hand. "Hold position." When they were 50 yards out, one of them raised an arm and waved. The motion was slow, mechanical. Then a voice called out, flat, far too even. "Ridge outpost. Friendly. Don't fire." Something about it felt off. The tone was wrong. The rhythm, too rehearsed, like he was reading it phonetically. "Password," Hale shouted. The men paused. The fog drifted between us like a curtain. Then one of them called back, "Sunrise." That was last week's password. Hale's jaw clenched. "Weapons up." The figures stopped moving. The silence that followed pressed against my ears. Then, one of them tilted his head as if listening to something we couldn't hear. Slowly, all 5 of them raised their rifles. "Contact." The first shot cracked through the fog. We dove into the trenches. Dirt sprayed into the air. The ridge lit up again, brief flashes, muzzle flares strobing the jungle. But something was wrong with the sound. Too slow. Too spaced. Each shot echoing like it was bouncing through a tunnel. I fired back, aiming for the movement, but my rounds hit nothing. The figures didn't fall. Didn't shout. Just kept walking. "Hold your fire." Hale barked. "Wait for visual." The fog parted for a second, just enough to see their faces. And for a heartbeat, everything in me froze. It was Echo Squad. Keller. Madsen. The missing. Their faces pale and waxy, eyes open but unfocused, as if lit from behind. Helmets cracked, uniforms torn, mud caked in thick patterns across their chests like dried blood. They moved in unison, step for step, rifles rising in perfect sync. Ramirez whispered, "That's not them. That can't be them." Then they vanished. Just gone. The fog folded over the spot where they'd been, like the jungle had inhaled and taken them back. We held our aim until our arms trembled. Nothing. No sound. No prints. When the fog lifted fully, the slope below was empty, just churned mud and the faint smell of decay. Hale lowered his rifle slowly. "Check your sectors," he said. His voice was calm, but the tremor beneath it betrayed him. We did. We searched every inch of that slope until darkness fell. No bodies. No shell casings. No tracks. Back at camp, Ramirez refused to touch his rifle. "I shot at them," he said quietly. "At Keller. I saw his face." "You saw fog," Hale said flatly. "Nothing else." Ramirez shook his head. "No, Sarge. They saw us. That night, the ridge felt smaller than ever. The fire burned low and the air tasted metallic. I sat awake, staring into the treeline, half expecting them to return. At 0200, something rustled near the wire. I raised my rifle, held my breath. A shadow shifted, slow, deliberate. Then a whisper, low and strained, drifted through the rain. "Help me." It sounded human. It sounded close. Hale was already there beside me. He shook his head once. "Don't move." The voice came again, weaker this time. "Help, please." Ramirez stood up. "That's Dorsey." "Sit down," Hale hissed. Ramirez didn't. He took one step forward. Then another. The fog swirled around him like smoke. "Ramirez." I hissed. "Stop." But he didn't. He vanished into the gray, swallowed hole. The voice stopped. We waited. 10 seconds. 30. A minute. Nothing. Then, faintly from deeper in the trees, the crackle of static. "Still here." I wanted to call out, but Hale gripped my arm hard. His eyes were wide. "He made his choice," he said. The static faded, replaced by rain. By dawn, we found nothing but Ramirez's rifle leaning against a tree, its barrel pointing down, mud dripping from the stock. No tracks. No blood. Just another absence. The ridge had taken another name. We buried his tags beside Mitchell's empty hole. Hale didn't say a prayer this time. He just stared at the ground and whispered, "We're not leaving this place." Not really. And none of us disagreed. By morning, the ridge feels hollow, like a shell that used to be alive. The mist clings lower, heavier. Every breath tastes like copper and mildew. We move slower now, not from exhaustion but because it feels like the ground itself is watching. Ramirez is gone. His empty foxhole gapes beside mine like an open mouth. Hale orders us not to speak his name. Says it gives the jungle ideas. Nobody argues. The radio sits in the center of camp, covered with a poncho. We haven't touched it since the phantom call. But now the silence feels worse. It presses at the back of the skull. The kind of quiet that starts to sound like your own blood moving. Dyer breaks first. "Sir," he says, "we need to call for pickup. Command has to know we're still here." Hale stares at him for a long time. His eyes look older than yesterday. "You think they'll answer?" Dyer nods weakly. "They have to." For a while, Hale doesn't respond. Then quietly, "Fine. One last call." He pulls the poncho away. The radio's casing is pitted with rust, its knob stiff with salt and dirt. Ramirez's handwriting still scrawled across the top. Channel 13. Never change it. Hale kneels, adjusts the frequency. The static comes instantly, thick, wet, endless. "This is Ridge Outpost to Henderson Command," he says. "Requesting extraction. Coordinates 12 green. Repeat extraction." Over. Nothing. Just the steady hiss. He tries again. "Ridge Outpost confirming presence. For survivors. 2 wounded. Request immediate." The static spikes. A sound slides through, low, slow, like someone dragging breath across a microphone. Then a voice. "Ridge Outpost." We all freeze. Hale leans closer. "Command, confirm identity." The voice repeats, slightly clearer this time. "Ridge Outpost, confirming presence." Dyer frowns. It's just echoing. But it isn't. The timing's wrong. A few words behind. Hale presses the mic again. "Say again." "Identify." The voice hesitates. Then, "For survivors, 2 wounded." The same words. Our words. I feel my throat close. It's copying us. The air thickens. The static deepens into a pulse. The voice on the line grows stronger, clearer, until it's no longer distant. It's familiar. It's Hale's voice. Exact. Tone, breath, rhythm, perfect. "Ridge Outpost to Henderson Command." He drops the mic like it burns. The echo continues without him, looping and mutating, the pitch rising, words bending at the edges like metal under heat. "We're still here, still waiting." It's the same phrase Dorsey said. The one Ramirez heard. Dyer's whisper barely makes a sound. "That's us. It's using us." Hale stares at the radio, jaw tight. Then, suddenly he lifts his rifle and fires. The shot punches through the casing. Sparks flare, smoke rising like breath from a wound. The echo cuts out. Only the rain remains. For a long time, none of us move. The smell of gunpowder mixes with the damp air. Hale lowers his rifle, breathing hard. No more radios, he says. No more voices. We bury the remains of the set under the old fire pit. No marker. No words. That night, the wind changes. It carries sound again, soft humming, low and rhythmic. The same tune Ramirez used to whistle. You are my sunshine. Dyer can't take it. He covers his ears. It's in my head, he says. I can feel it. Hale looks at me. His face is gaunt, unreadable. You hear it too? Yes. He nods like he expected that answer. Later, when the others are asleep, I take my shift on watch. The fog is dense, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Every shadow moves a little when you're not looking. And then I hear it again. The static, faint, buried in the wind. Still here. It's not from the ground this time. It's coming from inside my helmet. I rip it off, heart hammering. The sound fades. Slowly I put it back on. The voice returns. We're still here. Not an echo. Not an enemy. Not command. Just us. Our own voices circling back through the air like they never left. I don't wake Hale. I don't say a word. At dawn, I find him sitting by the trench, eyes fixed on the horizon. You heard it too, he says. I nod. He sighs. Then I guess it's true. What is? He turns toward me. We're part of the ridge now. The jungle hums in agreement. We left at dawn. No orders. No signal. Just the quiet decision that staying meant waiting to vanish like the others. Hale led, as always, rifle slung, eyes fixed on the fog that clung low over the ridge. Behind him, Dyer, limping from an old wound, and me, last in line, watching our backs as the jungle swallowed the trail behind us. The air was heavy, too still. Even the frogs had stopped. We moved east, downhill, toward the river sector where the terrain should open up into swamp and beyond that, the coastal plain. That was the plan. Maps said 3 miles. Easy miles. But the maps lied here. They always did. The descent started slow, careful steps through wet clay and roots that wanted to trip you. Each sound felt louder than it should. The click of a canteen, the brush of a sleeve, a curse muttered too hard. We didn't speak otherwise. There was nothing left to say. After an hour, the trees began to thin, and for the first time in days, light filtered through, a dull yellow glow, almost kind. Almost there, Dyer breathed. His voice cracked like a boy's. But 20 minutes later, the light dimmed again. The ground flattened. We stopped. Ahead of us was a clearing. Familiar. Too familiar. There was the fire pit. The stacked sandbags. Even the half-buried crate where Hale had carved his initials 2 weeks ago. We were back at the ridge. Dyer swore. Loud. That's impossible. We were going downhill the whole way. He dropped his pack, turned in a full circle, eyes wild. We didn't turn around. I swear to God we didn't. Hale didn't move. Just stared at the trees like they'd betrayed him. The jungle folds, he said quietly. It's done it before. Terrain shifts after rain. Paths change. But even he didn't sound convinced. We waited until noon, then tried again. Different direction this time, north toward the hills. The sun was visible now, so we used it for bearing, moving in a straight line as best we could. 2 hours later, we stopped for water. Dyer checked his compass. It spun. The needle jittered like it was nervous. Another hour. The air grew thicker, darker. We broke through a line of trees, and there it was again. The ridge. Same fire pit. Same view. Only one thing had changed. The poncho covering the radio was gone. Dyer backed away, shaking his head. No. No. It's a trick. Someone's moving us in circles. There. He stopped mid-sentence. Looked at Hale. You knew this would happen. Hale didn't answer. He sat down on a crate, elbows on his knees, eyes on the dirt. The ridge doesn't want us to leave, he said simply. The words hung there, heavier than any sound. We rested until dusk. Then Hale gave the only order he had left. We keep moving. Through the night if we have to. Pick a direction and don't stop. So we did. We marched under the pale light of a half moon, cutting through the vines and wet undergrowth, guided by instinct more than logic. Every so often I glanced back and think I saw something moving, shapes between the trees, slow and watchful, just out of focus. The fog followed. Always the fog. At some point, Dyer started muttering. We're close. I can feel it. I can feel it. His voice turned frantic, sharp, like he was chasing his own words. He pushed ahead, ignoring Hale's warnings. Then we heard it, a splash. Running water. We broke into a run, crashing through brush until we burst out onto a riverbank. It was real. Wide, dark, alive with current. We laughed. Actually laughed. See? Dyer gasped. Told you. He dropped to his knees, filled his canteen, splashed his face. The water was cold, clean, perfect. We drank like we hadn't in weeks. Then Hale's voice cut through. Stop. I looked up. He was standing over something on the bank. Boot prints. Deep ones. Ours. And just a few feet away, another set, older, half filled with mud. 5 of them. The same pattern as before. Same size. Same spacing. We followed them up the slope. The trees parted. And there it was again. The ridge. The fire pit was still smoldering. Our packs were there where we'd left them. And by the trench, 3 shadows stood, still human-shaped, waiting. Dyer fell to his knees. We never left. The fog began to rise again, slow and deliberate, curling around the trees like smoke with memory. Hale didn't move. His voice was low when he spoke. This isn't retreat anymore. This is inheritance. I wanted to ask what he meant, but the words didn't come. The ridge was humming. Well, soft. Almost a lullaby. And somewhere in that hum, I heard the same voice that had whispered through the radio, calm, certain, endless. Still here. We didn't try again. Not that night. Not ever. At first it's just a hum. A faint vibration through the mud floor of the trench, like the ridge itself has found a frequency. Then come the voices. Not clear at first. Murmurs beneath the wind, syllables tangled with the rustle of leaves. It starts at dusk. Always dusk. The hour when shadows lose their edges and everything feels too close. Dyer freezes mid-step. You hear that? I listen. The sound rises and falls like breath. Then words. Soft, broken, unmistakably human. Hold the line. More sandbags. Move, move. I got you, I got you. Just, or what we used to sound like. Hale lifts his rifle automatically, scanning the tree line. No one talks. Not one word. But the ridge ignores him. The echoes grow louder, layering on top of each other. Shouts, laughter, fragments of songs, all drifting from nowhere and everywhere. I recognize one of the voices. Ramirez. Clear as the day he was still here. He's laughing. That low, half-choked laugh he used when he didn't want to admit something scared him. Dyer backs up until he hits a tree. That's him. That's Ramirez. He turns to me, eyes wide. He's out there. Dyer? Hale warns. But Dyer's already moving toward the sound. The voices shift as he moves, like the ridge is adjusting its speakers. Ramirez's laugh fades, replaced by something else, singing. A melody we all know too well. You are my sunshine. The song drifts through the fog, coming from the direction of the old supply pit. Dyer runs. We chase after him. Branches whip our faces. The ground slopes downward, slick and soft. We reach the pit in seconds, but Dyer's gone. Only the song remains, echoing low from below the soil, warped and slow like it's underwater. Hale kneels, touches the mud. It vibrates faintly, almost pulsing. Then he jerks his hand back. It's warm. We stand in silence, waiting for the singing to stop. It doesn't. It just drifts away. By nightfall, we've built another fire, small, hidden under a makeshift canopy. No one speaks. The jungle hums around us, restless and awake. Then from somewhere deep in the ridge, a new sound. A metallic rattle. Faint at first, then steady. The unmistakable click of a radio switch. We look at each other. No, Hale says. It's buried. But the radio doesn't care. The static crackles to life, soft and rhythmic like a heartbeat. Then, this is Ridge Outpost. The voice is Dyer's. Hale stiffens. He's dead. I whisper, we didn't see him die. He shakes his head. That's worse. The transmission continues, looping in fragments. Supplies low. Rivers rising. Still holding the ridge. The last phrase repeats, lower each time like it's sinking. Still holding the ridge. Still holding the ridge. The fire flickers. The air smells like rain and rusted metal. I close my eyes and behind my eyelids I see flashes, foxholes, muzzle flares, the faces of men we've buried. Their mouths open but no sound comes out. Only static. When I open my eyes again, Hale's staring into the flames. His lips move, but it takes me a second to realize he's whispering along with the recording. Still holding the ridge. I don't stop him. I join in. The words feel heavy like a ritual. Like the only thing keeping us anchored. The fire burns lower. The static fades. For a moment it's quiet again. Then faintly from the tree-line. Thank you. It's barely audible, carried on the wind, but we both hear it. Neither of us moves. Finally, Hale exhales. They're not gone. No, I say softly. And neither are we. He nods, slow and tired. That's the problem. We sit there until the fire dies. The jungle doesn't sleep anymore. And neither do we. When dawn comes, the ridge hums again, stronger this time. Every piece of rusted wire, every nail in a sandbag frame, every bullet casing half buried in mud, all vibrating in perfect unison. A chorus of ghosts. Hale stands, shouldering his rifle like habit. If it's recording us, he says, then maybe it's waiting for an ending. Then what? I ask. He looks out toward the fog. Then we give it one. The morning smells of rain and smoke that hasn't happened yet. Hale moves with purpose. Calm. Controlled. The kind of calm that means something inside him has already decided. He wakes me before dawn. Pack light, he says. We're ending this. There's no need to ask what this is. The ridge hums beneath our boots as if it knows. The air is too warm for morning, too thick to breathe easily. Somewhere out in the fog, the ghosts are restless, shifting, murmuring, testing the limits of silence. We gather what fuel we have left. 3 jerry cans of kerosene. Half a box of flare rounds. Dyer's old poncho, stiff with mold. The broken bits of crates we once used as benches. Hale stacks them carefully near the main trench. Our home, our cage, our grave. He doesn't speak for a long time. Then, the ridge remembers everything, he says. Voices, faces, every shot fired. Maybe if we give it something final, something it can't replay, it'll let go. I want to believe him. But belief feels like another trick this island plays. Still I nod. Then we burn it all. We start at the edges, splashing the walls of the dugouts with kerosene, soaking the mud that never truly dried. The smell clings to our clothes. My hands shake as I pour, part fear, part exhaustion, part knowing this is the last thing I'll ever do here. When we reach the radio pit, Hale stops. The box we shot sits half buried under a layer of mud, blackened but whole. Its casing still hums faintly, like a dying heart refusing to quit. He kneels beside it, brushing away the dirt. You hear that? I do. Under the hum, words. Barely. Faint as breath. Still holding the ridge. He closes his eyes. Then let's give it something new to hold. He strikes a match. The flame catches on the first try, flickering pale orange in the damp air. He drops it into the pit. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then the kerosene flares, fast, bright, hungry. The fire spreads like memory catching up. We step back, watching as the flames crawl up the walls, lick at the old sandbags, devour the shacks and frames and rations. The heat builds quick. The air ripples. Smoke rises in dense, oily columns that turn the dawn to dusk again. And then the ridge begins to scream. Not loud. Not human. A deep, vibrating roar that travels through the ground and up our bones, as though the earth itself is protesting. The air crackles with sound, every word we've ever spoken, layered and reversed, spilling out in a single wave of noise. Laughter. Orders. Prayers. Cries. All folding into each other, then burning away. Hale grips the strap of his rifle so hard his knuckles turn white. Keep watching, he says. Don't turn away. I don't. Because for all the horror, it's beautiful. The way the ridge glows, the way every rotten plank and twisted nail is turned to light. The ghosts rise with the smoke, faces half formed in the fire, dissolving before they can speak. When the flames reach the trench, Hale kneels. He places something small into the dirt, his dog tags wrapped around a fragment of the Japanese diary he kept. Let them remember this instead, he murmurs. The fire takes it gently. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time feels unstrung. The ridge burns until there's nothing left but embers. No voices. No static. Only the rain starting to fall again, hissing against the ash. Hale slumps against a tree, breathing hard. His uniform is streaked with soot and mud. He looks older, stripped bare. Think it's over? I ask. He doesn't answer. His eyes are fixed on the horizon, where a faint strip of blue cuts through the smoke. It's never over, he says finally. But it's quieter now. We sit there listening. The jungle hum has stopped. The ridge is still. For the first time in months, the silence isn't heavy. It's hollow, open like the pause between two breaths. When night comes, we build one last fire, small, just enough to keep warm. I take out my notebook, what's left of it, pages half dissolved from rain. I write a single line. We burned the ridge so it would forget us. I think it worked. Hale chuckles softly. If anyone ever finds that, they'll think we went mad. Maybe we did. He stares into the flames. Then let's finish the madness right. We stay there until the stars return. By midnight, the fire's low. The ridge is black glass now, smoking faintly in the moonlight. I close my eyes and hear nothing. No echoes, no calls, no ghosts. Just the sea far away, calling us home. We walked until the trees thinned and the air changed. It smelled different, open, wild, carrying salt and the faint sweetness of rot. The ridge was behind us now, just a dark scar in the mist. It didn't hum anymore, didn't whisper, didn't breathe. For the first time in months, the silence was ours. Hale said nothing for most of the march. His steps were steady but slow, like he was counting each one. The ground began to slope, the mud giving way to coarse sand and roots tangled like veins beneath the surface. The jungle thinned and beyond it, light. Not the gray haze of dawn, not the ghost-white shimmer of fog, but light. Real. What? Moving. We reached the shore just as the sun broke through. The ocean stretched out before us, vast and silver blue, the horizon trembling where the water met the sky. Waves rolled in gentle, deliberate breaths. Each one seemed to erase a little more of the world we'd come from. For a long time we didn't move. Then Hale dropped his rifle into the surf. It hit with a hollow splash, then disappeared, claimed instantly by the tide. He stood there watching it sink, shoulders heavy, face unreadable. "You're really leaving it?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, it's leaving me." We followed the beach east, barefoot now, boots slung over our shoulders. The sand burned under the sun, but we didn't care. Every wave that lapped at our ankles felt like a cleansing. Every gust of wind peeled another layer of the ridge from our skin. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, we laughed. Not loud, not free, but real. It came out cracked and rusted like something unused for years, but it was laughter all the same. We found a stretch of driftwood near a pile of rusted drums, remnants of an old supply drop, maybe. We sat. We watched the horizon. Hale said, "You ever think about what you'll tell them when you get back?" "Sometimes," I said, "but it changes every time I try." He nodded slowly. "I'll tell them it rained a lot. That's enough." We sat there in silence. The surf hissed against the sand. A seabird screamed somewhere far out over the waves, wild and alive. When the tide began to rise, Hale reached into his pack and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He held it out to me. It was the spoon. The same one he'd sworn to mail home when the war was over. "Keep it," he said. "Proof we were real." I tried to refuse, but he pressed it into my hand. "You'll need something to remember the sound of eating when it's quiet again." The metal was warm from his touch. Solid. Human. We waited for the boats. We didn't know if they were coming, but we waited anyway, because that's what Marines do. Because there was nothing else left to do. The sun slid lower. The sky went orange, then blood red, then gold again. And then, faintly, the sound came. Engines. Well, distant. Real. We stood, eyes straining toward the horizon. Shapes appeared, gray hulls cutting across the waves, sunlight flashing off their bows. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Hale exhaled. "Guess the ridge finally let go." I laughed once quietly. "Or it's letting us go so it can sleep." The boats drew closer. The men aboard waved, shouted, pointed. Their voices sounded strange, too bright, too alive, like we were hearing them from another world. When the first one hit the shallows, Hale turned to me. "You go first." I hesitated. "You're coming, right?" He smiled, a small, tired curve of his mouth. "In a minute." I waded out, the surf curling around my knees, my waist, my chest. The men on the boat grabbed my arms, hauled me in. I turned back. Hale was still standing on the beach. The waves reached his boots. The wind tugged at his uniform, at the bandage on his arm. He raised one hand, not a wave, just a gesture. A mark. Then the fog rolled in again, swallowing the shore in a slow, quiet breath. Someone asked, "Who's that?" I opened my mouth to answer. But by the time I looked back, the beach was empty. The sea stretched wide and silver again, unbroken. The boat turned toward open water. The men spoke, laughed, lit cigarettes. I didn't. I just watched the horizon grow wider, the ridge fading behind us into the distance until it was only a shadow against the sky. I reached into my pocket and felt the spoon. Cold now. It glinted faintly in the sun, like a signal from a place that refused to stay buried. When night came, the stars returned, clearer, sharper than I'd ever seen them. The ocean was calm. The engine's hum mixed with the wind, the sound steady and human and mercifully ordinary. I leaned back against the hull, closed my eyes, and whispered the only thing left to say: "We're still here." And this time it didn't sound like a curse. It sounded like a promise.